Good to be with you once again, brothers and sisters. All praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Well, here we are. Now, I decided to go over this again. I went over this, I don't know how long ago, and I don't even know if I still have the video up. But again, there are Sunday pastors, and that's what they are. Unclean meat eating pastors have gotten behind the line again. Because they have these secret meetings, brothers and sisters, on what to say. And it's done in order. They can lie to you plain-faced and continue on in it. They can do it. It's like it's a mission. Now, again, we're going to show you that Israelites were Gentiles. And the reason why they were. See, the Christians, they pick a verse, stay with it. Okay. We don't pick a verse, stay with it. We read them all. So we're going to read them all to you. We're going to give you a substantiated amount of witnesses to prove that Israelites were Gentiles. So the first thing we have to do is go to the book of Acts 11:1. And it says this: "And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles," remember the Gentiles, "had also received the word of God." Gentiles. You see it. Verse 2. "And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision are the Jews." Every time you see the circumcision, you might as well say Jews. I'm going to say it like that. "Contended with him." So I'm going to read this verse again because I broke it up. "And when Peter was coming up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision contended with him." Watch. "Saying, Thou wentest in to men uncircumcised, and did eat with them." Or didst eat with them, whichever one. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm going right here. We're going to do this again. Bible Compact Dictionary. I'm not going into this letter or is the Hebrew this, the Hebrew that. I have a Bible dictionary. And the verses I'm going to take you to show you why it's defined the way they defined it in this dictionary. They knew. The weak, ignorant pastors, these TikTok agents, they don't know nothing. They're taught to avoid verses. Don't be like that. You have to, everything has to be read to you fairly so you can make your assessment on how you want to worship God or who you want to believe. I'm going to give you the fair opportunity by giving you every verse that's fair. And it's also love. But let's read it. "Uncircumcised, one who has not submitted to the Judean." I'm going to say Judean because I don't want to say Jewish. I hate saying Jewish. "Rite of circumcision." Number 2, Gentiles. According to this dictionary, the uncircumcised is the same as Gentiles. The same. Uncircumcised, Gentiles. Uncircumcised, Gentiles. The pork chop eater can see it. So when we go back to Acts, look at this. Acts chapter 11, verse 1. "And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of God." The Gentiles. So what? Look at this. And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision contended with him, saying, Thou wentest in to men uncircumcised and did eat with them. Who were the uncircumcised men Peter went in to eat with? Cornelius. He called them Gentiles in verse 1 and uncircumcised in verse 3. They meant the same. They meant the same thing. The same. They were not different. Gentiles in verse 1, uncircumcised in verse 3. It meant the same thing. It's the same context, as they say. Same thing. Romans chapter 2. Romans 2. Verse 23. It says, Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonorest thou God? For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles. Here we go. Gentiles through you, as it is written. But look, Gentiles now. But let's. For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Hold up. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of... What was this uncircumcision? Who is this uncircumcision? They were called Gentiles in verse 24. Same thing. Again, verse 24. You see Gentiles in verse 26. Therefore, of the uncircumcision. The uncircumcision were the Gentiles he was talking about in verse 24. Same ones. See, the Christians like to read. No, stop. Point this out. They can't teach like that. These Gentiles in Romans 2:24 are the uncircumcision in 2:26. Same one. So what he's saying is, therefore, if the Gentiles keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? See, this isn't talking about the circumcision with the knife. This is the heart. So he's saying if those that are uncircumcised, which in verse 24 were Gentiles. See, when you see this uncircumcised, not just, it's not talking about, it's telling us one who has not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision back into the law. Gentiles. Listen to what we're telling you. But wait a minute. Let's go back up. Romans 2:24, Gentiles. Romans 2:26, uncircumcision. It was the same. Same thing. Let's get Romans 3. You're going to be surprised, brothers and sisters, how many times you see this over and over and over and over. And we use the verses they use. We run from no verse. Here we go. Romans 3:29. Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Question mark. Yes, of the Gentiles also. Oh, here it is. seeing it is one God which shall justify the circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. Who are these uncircumcision? The Gentiles in verse 29. The Bible continues to show you that uncircumcision and Gentiles mean the same. It doesn't mean non-Jew, non-Israelite. It means Gentiles, uncircumcision. Same thing. That's why, once again, it's letting you know that these people who published this knew exactly what the Bible is proving. They're telling you, uncircumcised, one who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision, Gentiles. It meant the same. It meant the same thing. You can read it. Let's go back. I want to read it again. Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Question mark. Yes, of the Gentiles also. Seeing it is one God which shall justify the circumcision, Jews, by faith, and the uncircumcision, Gentiles, through faith. The uncircumcision and Gentiles meant the same. Paul is letting us know we continue to see the two being used, verse to verse. He didn't use it 10 verses down the line. He used it the next verse, letting you know that the uncircumcision were the Gentiles. The uncircumcision was the Gentiles. Paul continues to write it this way. He continues to write it like this. He does not change it. Now, because the Christian want to say, "Oh, we don't agree," that doesn't mean anything, because they don't want to agree with the book. They're not agreeing with anybody that's breaking the law. They don't agree with the book anyway. You might as well get used to that. If they're breaking the law, they don't agree with the book. So right then, you can't take a Christian serious, so-called serious. You cannot take them serious. Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. Seeing it is one God which shall justify the circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. So the uncircumcision were the Gentiles in verse 29. They meant the same. This is what we're letting you know. This is what we're showing you. This is the way to understand this. And because just stay with me. Okay, so we've gone over Acts 11, 1 through 3, Romans 2, 24 to 26, and here we got Romans 3, 29 and 30 that says that Gentiles and uncircumcision was the same. Paul is using them in verses back to back, letting us know those Gentiles were the uncircumcision. Now, you're finna see it again. Galatians 2. Brothers and sisters, there's no way you could have this many witnesses and be wrong. Oh, he's misreading it. Ain't no, oh, really? Okay. Galatians 2 and 7. But contrariwise, when they, Paul speaking, saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. So here's the uncircumcision and the circumcision. The uncircumcision is written again, right here. So the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. We're not worried about the gospel to the circumcision that was to Peter. We're talking about the gospel to the uncircumcision Paul says he was meant to do. So he was meant for the uncircumcision. Verse 8. Look at these parentheses. Emphasis. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. In verse 8, they're called Gentiles. It's saying Paul is not changing this. In verse 7, you see uncircumcision. And in verse 8, Gentiles. Now we're going to read this again. I'm going to stop at a point, then I'm going to go down, because I don't want you to. I want you to see this point. But Galatians 2:7. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me. Stop. The gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me. Let's drop down. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. It was the same, brothers and sisters. When it says the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles, what was mighty in him toward the Gentiles? Preaching the gospel. Preaching the gospel. That was what Paul had his might in amongst the uncircumcision. Over and over, man. It continues to say uncircumcision and Gentiles are the same. Verse 7, uncircumcision. Verse 8, Gentiles. It's just back to back. Paul is letting us know that the Gentiles are the uncircumcision. All right? No, wait a minute. Ephesians 2:11. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember. Now, he's talking to the saints in verse 1. The saints are the children of Israel. Psalms 50:5. Psalms 148 verse 14. Hosea 11:12. Christians. Come on now, Christians. We got the verses to tell you. You can go to Acts 9:13. Romans 15:26. Every time you see saints is with Jerusalem. There's no other type of saint. One that believes in. No, you can't prove that. There's only one saint in this Israel. That's it. Enough of the lies. Enough of the drama. Paul, an apostle of the Messiah Christ by the will of God, to the saints which are at Ephesus, not to a mixed multitude. Saints, one people. And to the faithful in the Messiah Christ. Now, when we go to Ephesians 2:11, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, the Gentiles were what? Who were called uncircumcision. Uncircumcised. One who is not submitted to the Judean rite of circumcision. Gentiles. Well, what do you know? These people know something after all, because we continue to see it. Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh who are called uncircumcision, because it meant the same. It meant the same thing. Again and again, brothers and sisters, Gentiles and uncircumcision continue to be together. He's making sure we understand it. It's just that these so-calls, they said to themselves, what we're going to do is we're going to make up a definition and we're going to have this ignorant pastor push it. That's what we're going to do. These preachers. these so-calls. This is the most beautiful picture you'll ever see. Negro's head in that text. That's what they don't want. They don't want that. They want to be able to guide you in the wrong way, the wrong direction. Ephesians 2:11, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision. When was that? Who were called uncircumcision? Let's see who called them the uncircumcision. Let's see when they did that. Because it says, who are called uncircumcision. Acts 11:1. And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of God. And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision contended with him, saying, thou wentest into men uncircumcised. Wait a minute. So these circumcision call these Gentiles in verse 1 uncircumcised. So that is who was calling them the uncircumcised, their own brethren. See, you know why? Because let's go back. Ephesians. I'm just showing you when look at Ephesians 2. Verse 11, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision, by that which is called the circumcision. We just read it, Acts 11:1-3, in the flesh made by hands. So again, understand the parallel between Gentiles and uncircumcision. It's going to mean something. Colossians 3:11. Look at verse after verse. Colossians 3 and verse 11. Wherefore, where there is neither Greek nor Jew. Greek nor Jew. Oh, right. I want you to understand very carefully. What I want you to see here. Let me read this, because I just want you to see. I think I'm gonna do this. Again, we're back in that Compact Bible Dictionary. Thanks for bearing with me, brothers and sisters. Now, let's look and see once again. I read this in previous podcasts, but I'll continue to read it again. Over and over. You don't want to listen to just any agent out of TikTok talking. We're reading it. Precept on precept, different books. Greece, Grecia, Grecians. Grecia is Greece, home of the Hellenists, Greeks and Grecians, however, to be distinguished. Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race. You see the verses. But the word may be used to indicate non-Jews, foreigners and aliens. The foreigner and alien is right here. This is the foreigner. This is the alien. This is him. This is that Greek. Right here. Grecians were Greek speaking Jews. I'm going to read that again. Greeks, Grecians, they were Grecians. The Judeans were Grecians by citizenship. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews. These Greek-speaking Jews were also Greeks. Greeks. Folk of the dispersion from areas predominantly Greek. This is what they don't want you to understand. The Jews that were born in Greece were Greeks as well. Hellenists, Jews who made Greek their tongue, and with it often adopted Greek ideas and practices like idolatry. Idolatry. One of the things that they continue to hold, because when you put two and two together, that's what they don't want you to do. They do not want you to develop a thought, one complete thought in this Bible. Because when you do, I mean, it matters to, I don't know how many of us it matters to. But most people will hear this and they'll be like, oh, well. But it's a few of us that read it and we're like, because now we can see that these dark Jews, the dark Jews, because I want to show you something, brothers and sisters. I'm going to show you this same, I'm hoping I can find it. I'm hoping I can find this. Give me a second. I'm not sure if I don't know if I still have it. I don't know. Let me see. Give me just a second. I'm looking to see if I still have it. All right. I have it here. The same Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary says this. Ruddy now. A word used to refer to red or fair complexion, like Malcolm X, like Red Fox, Ronaldo Ray. They were, okay. In contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. Hold up. So this book says that the Hebrews were dark skinned. The Hebrews were dark skinned. They know what they know. It's just that we don't know it. Books like this, they put out, different things they put out, their kids are supposed to see it. We're not. We're not supposed to research this. For what? I'll tell you for what. Your salvation is on the line. It's what you believe, what you understand, what you know. That's why the same compact dictionary, the same one, Ham, this is Ham, one of Noah's sons, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8th persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Okay, wait a minute. Negroes. Negro. black person, adjective relating to black people. Negroes, Negro, colored person, black, Blackmore, Jim Crow, slang, U.S., darky, Sambo, ebony, all coal, the image of God. Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, this book was established in 1834. I screenshot this. Somebody had this book. I said, oh no, I got to screenshot that. This book was established in 1834. And this is the definition they had in it for Negro. This. Negro, colored person, black, Blackmore, Jim Crow, slang, U.S., darky, Sambo, ebony, all coal. The image of God. Cut in ebony, Fuller, African, Ethiopia. See what they did? See how they did it? Ethiop, Swarthy, Ethiop. Shakespeare, colored man, man of color, buck Negro. What, do you understand what's going on? They understand. But I like that last little part there. The image of God. They know what color God is. But our people that's under these ignorant pastors here each and every week in the brick building on the corner with the fried chicken in the back and collard greens with hog maw and pork fat all in, ready to go. Chitlins in the back. These are the types that this is what our people like, because they love worshiping the image. This is all that is. All about that church music. And all about them staying into this, however they do it. These are the typical scenes you see in your ignorant churches on the corner. No interest. What do I want to do? Before I want to read this again, I'll just read, because I got a little ways to go. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision. Notice, brothers and sisters, again, the Greek. Is that the other Greek, or is that the Judean born in Greece, a citizen? You got to ask yourself, there's no way you can continue to run from this. These people understood. They understood. The Judeans that were born in Greece were Grecians, Greeks. Barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. See, Paul is saying something here. Uncircumcision. That Greek was the uncircumcision. The Greek was the uncircumcision. The Greek Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenists, Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished. Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race. He's talking about when you see Hellenic race, look at this Negro here. He's a Greek. See, this is the picture the Caucasians don't want you to see. These black Greeks. These black Greeks were among these white Romans. Hope you heard what I said. I'm going to leave it alone on that. Let's get back to the Bible. Or back to this here. Real quick. Again, Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenists, Greeks, and Grecians. However, to be distinguished, Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race. But the word may be used to indicate non-Jews, foreigners, and aliens. Foreigners and aliens. This is your foreigner. This is your alien. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folk of the dispersion from areas predominantly Greek. These people know that there was different Greeks. It just wasn't that one white Greek. It was also the dark Greeks, the Jews. So who, I'm saying, brothers and sisters, who, you got to put two and two together. Who are these uncircumcision Paul is going after? See, see, if you think about it, understanding the Bible, because I'm going to prove something to you. Leviticus. Take me a sip there. Leviticus 25. Verse 45. I want you to I'm going to read two verses to you. It says this. Moreover, of the children of strangers that do sojourn among you, of them ye shall buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. But see that possession? See, we're going to go over Amos 9 and 12. We're going to show you, see, but it's a twist in it, though, what God is going to do to the children of Israel that continue breaking the law. It's not going to be any different. We can guarantee you this. See, that's something you're not being taught, brothers and sisters. You think, oh, well, we're Israel. No, if you are a sinner as an Israelite, you're going to go to the exact same place death and hell is going. Well, I can't wait to go over that. Coming up soon. But I want you to pay attention. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. But shall your, wait a minute, they shall be your bondmen forever. Excuse me, they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren. Now notice, brethren. Now he's got to talk, he's now up at the top of the verse. He was talking about those that are not of your nation. Now we already coming back again, brothers and sisters, to show you in a future podcast episode that Israelites were also strangers among the nations. They were strangers too. We got about 12, 13 verses to prove it. We ain't playing with them. Bring the verses. We can prove it, both testaments. But I want you to understand something. It says, but over your brethren, the children of Israel. Stop. According to the law, Israel, your brethren of the children of Israel. He's giving the law of your brethren. See, brothers and sisters, brethren were of your own people. Ye shall not rule one over another with rigor or with hardship. I want you to understand, brethren, that your brethren is from your nation, your brethren. There's no such thing as nations being brethren to other nations. That's not working. The Bible doesn't present it like that. The brethren it says, but over your brethren, the children of Israel. So the children of Israel were brethren to themselves. Now, what the so-called weak Israelites like to do is they any way in they can do. And I see this. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. So thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he's thy brother. This one they won't read. So let's see what's going on here. All right. I'm going to read this real quick. Obadiah. See, they skipped this one. And thy mighty men, O Timon, shall be dismayed. Talking about from Edom now. To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter for the violence against thy brother Jacob. So God, we don't need to hate Esau. God does. Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, our brother stood on the other side. In the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was as one of them. You was as one of them, the other ones. You was right along with them, God says. When they did that, you jumped right in with it. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day that thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. So Israelites were strangers as well. See, became a stranger. Stranger where? Among the nations. Israelites were also noted as strangers. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. See, look what the brother did. See, we ain't worried about hating him. No, God already gave us the future and the prophecy on this thing. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people. Esau was not his people. This is letting you know all people was not his people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance, stole our stuff while they were taking us out in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So you're looking at it. They cut off us to try to escape. Well, here they go. And then when we did escape, they found us and delivered us up. They found us in the field and took us to the captive. See, when you go to Deuteronomy 23:7 and you can't understand all this, look what they did. See, we cannot. Here we go. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. He didn't say some of the heathen or part of the heathen. He says all of the heathen. All of them. Every last one. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee, and thy reward shall return upon thine own head. When the day of the Lord comes, it's going to be on all of them, not part of them, not some of them. All the heathen are going to pay. All of them are going to pay. So when we talk about Deuteronomy 23 and 7, why not go here to see they don't want that part? It's something that you read a part and then skip others that mean a lot. What's going on with you, man? Ezekiel 11. So much for that brother, right? Again, Ezekiel 11, verse 15. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all of the house of Israel holy. Stop. Again, the brethren are the men of your kindred, the children of Israel. An Israelite is a brother to an Israelite. He's not a brother to an Edomite. See, what you don't realize is when the law was given to Israel, Israelites are Israelites according to the law. Brethren. Other nations, no. Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all the house of Israel holy are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, get ye far from the Lord. Unto us this land is given for possession. Because at that time, because I want to explain why. At this time, Israel, the northern kingdom, was already taken off into captivity. And so what the Jews wanted, or the southern kingdom wanted, was all of them out of there. No. See, if you understand the bitter, it was bitter between the kingdoms. It was even a time in 2 Chronicles 28, 8 through 11, where the children of Israel took their brothers captive. We're going to go into that. The war between the tribes is coming up. But I wanted you to notice that brethren are your kindred from your own people. That's what it is. You're reading it. And Paul, again, Christians will not be able to produce a verse that says brethren or any nation or any people. No. That's trash. We don't care about that. You can't, whatever they think, they think. For I could wish that myself were cursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. That kinsman is, again, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So, Paul's brethren, according to the flesh, his kindred, according to the flesh, his kindred, were Israelites. So when you understand brethren are your kindred. They're your kindred. And so again, when we go to Acts 15, Acts 15 and 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren. They came down from Judea and taught the brethren. Came down to where? See, this is the kind of stuff. It seemed like they were going, and even before I read this, I know it's going to seem kind of weird, but I want to read this first. I should have read it first. Here we go. Now, we'll do this. Acts 21:20. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe. Also, a lot of Jews believe. And they are all zealous of the law. So when they believed, they were zealous of the law. See, belief and law could not be separated. You can find it in the Old Testament, man. It was, okay, let's go. And they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles. Here we go. Among them, to forsake Moses, saying, they ought not to circumcise their children, neither walk after the customs. Wait a minute. Notice, brothers and sisters, that the Jews that are among the Gentiles, think about what you're reading. We tell you to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. It says, and they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles, to forsake Moses, saying, they ought not to circumcise. Wait a minute, circumcise their children, neither walk after the customs. But you got to understand, among the Gentiles. So you teach Jews that are among the Gentiles. That among means they're with them. They're with the Gentiles. They're not in Jerusalem. They're with the Gentiles, scattered among them. Not to circumcise. Why? Because they're still circumcising. The Jews among the nations were not circumcised. It's telling you. That's why when we go back to Acts 15, when you go back to Acts 15, verse 1, and certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, the brethren is your kindred, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Now, what I want to do with this is I want to show you that their brethren were uncircumcised. Their brethren were uncircumcised. We want you to see that those scattered Jews were the uncircumcision because they were not circumcised. We know what this is talking about. All we got to do is show you that the Jews were uncircumcised among the nations, so they were also the uncircumcision. This is what they'll battle this, but brothers and sisters, no matter who comes, I will battle this to the end, and I can promise you, they will not have a verse in the Bible that says, "Brethren from any nation, anybody that believes on Christ is my brethren." That's a lie. That is not your brethren is your kindred. Esau may have been Jacob's brother, but the law calls your brethren your kindred, the children of Israel. That's your brother. Even you can go to Jeremiah. I skipped that one, Jeremiah 7. God says this. This is talking to the southern kingdom. And I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Your brethren, the brethren of the southern kingdom, the brethren of the Jews were Ephraim. Your brethren was never other nations. It was your own people. That's that. So when you look, Acts 15 again, verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Now, I don't want except ye be circumcised. I'm not worried about the circumcision. What I'm worried about is their brethren, the Jews scattered, were also uncircumcised as the other nations. They were the same, according to the book. See, the Christians can't understand that. They think because they're Jews among them, that they're Jews. No. The Bible doesn't base it off that. That's theology. The Bible based the fact that you're uncircumcised by the knife out there keeping the customs of the Gentiles, you're with them. You're a Gentile just like them. The Bible they try to turn it, swing it, but they can't. They can't swing it. Especially this will tell it all here. 1 Corinthians 1. And even before that, the same, watch this. Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. Our fathers were who? Israel. He ain't talking to the Gentiles here. Brethren, our fathers is Israel's fathers. Paul's writing to his brethren in Corinth. And the same letter to his brethren in Corinth, he says, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. You, the brethren in verse 1, know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. What is Paul talking about? You Israelites were Gentiles carried to these dumb idols. You Israelites, the brethren are his people. The Israelites, the Jews in Corinth, as it says in Acts 18, 1 and 2. They can't run. You brethren, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. What is he talking about? The book of Ezekiel 25. Ezekiel 25. Carried away. It was called, behold, therefore, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will deliver thee for a spoil to the heathen. That's how they were delivered. That's how they were carried away. They were delivered into the hands of the Gentile, heathen Gentile. Here we go, back to it. Heathen, usually used for, usually, not all the time, usually, because other times the heathen refers to as Israel. That's why it says usually. Used for a non-Israelitish people. Thus has the meaning of Gentiles. So Gentiles, in other words. But I have another book, brothers and sisters, I'm going to show you where old concordance, where heathen originally was defined as idolater, but it was changed to Gentiles. A heathen was an idolater. And when we go into that, I'm going to show you why the Christians changed it from an idolater. See, if it's an idolater, it could be anybody. They want you to think that Gentiles only means non-Israel. No. It meant what we just got to going over. Uncircumcision. That's what it was. It says, behold, therefore, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and will deliver thee for a spoil to all the heathen, the Gentiles. And I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries, because that's where you're going to be. I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. So when you're out there, scattered in in other lands, what are you going to be doing? It was called in the law. Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28. Again, I'm just going over it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Thou shalt serve other gods. Where you go, you're going to serve other gods. This was written in the law. God knows better than the so-called. When you're carried out of your land, you're going to be serving other gods, other type of gods. Not me. You're not going to be serving me. You're going to serve other gods. And so when he scatters them in Ezekiel, we're showing you, brothers and sisters, Ezekiel 25. In verse 7, behold, therefore I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will deliver thee for a spoil to the Gentiles, and I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries. I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Here we go. Thus saith the Lord God, because that Moab and Seir, you know who they are, do say, behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. Why? Why did they become like the Gentiles? Because they were scattered among them, worshiping their gods. No way you can look around this. No way. It says it here. It says, behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. To be like unto the heathen, to be like unto the heathen means to be without a God. We went over it before. 2 Chronicles 15, 2 and 3. Israel was without a God, without a law. That's what it means to be as the heathen. We showed you 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. Might as well show it to you. And the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded. And he went out to meet Asa and said unto him, hear ye me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you while ye be with him. And if ye seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. It says, now for a long season, a long time, Israel has been without the true God. They were without God. Do you understand what you're reading? Israel was without God. How come? How can they be without God? Well, I can say this, without the true. Notice it says the true God. And without a teaching priest. And without law. But when they in their trouble. What's trouble? Tribulation. See, they were without law because they were in other nations, worshiping their gods. This is too simple, man. This is what it means when it, in 2 Chronicles 15 and 3, now for a long season Israel has been without the true God, without a teaching priest, and without law. Now let's go back down. This is where I want you to see. Ezekiel 25 again. See, the Bible is talking one way. It's giving you the insight on what's really going on. Behold, therefore, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will deliver thee for a spoil to the Gentiles. And I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries, and I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God, because that Moab and Seir do say, behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. Why? Because they're going to be without God, without law, and without a teaching priest among the nations, making them Gentiles. That's why once again, when you look at the book of Ezekiel 36, we're showing you they're going to be as the Gentiles. It's telling you here they are like the Gentiles. That's why it says in Ezekiel 36:19, and I will scatter them among the heathen. He's talking about Israel now. And they were dispersed. See, it says, I scattered them among the heathen. Scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed throughout the countries according to their way, and according to their doings I judged them. See, that's and when you look at verse 20, and when they entered into the Gentiles, heathen, whether they went, they profaned my holy name. When they said to them, these are the people of the Lord, and are gone forth out of his land. See, kicked out of the land among the Gentiles, dispersed throughout the countries. Dispersed. So again, when Christ, John 7, dispersed. Then we come to John 7:35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whether will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? You Christians know that these dispersed that Christ is that the Jews are calling Gentiles or Israelites. They know this. They're the scattered Israelites. They're the dispersed. They had become like the heathen because they were without God at the time. That's why Paul once again says in 1 Corinthians 9:20. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 21. I'm doing this again, over and over and over. We're going to do this until they back off. To them that are without law, as without law. Who are the them that were without law? Northern kingdom. Because they were already scattered in the wind. Now, we ain't saying all of them were, but most of them were. But I want you to keep the point in Ezekiel 25:7-8. Moab and Moab. Let's go back. Moab. I just want that one verse. Because when you look at this, brothers and sisters, the ones that were without law were those Israelites scattered. They had, when you look at this, when it says without law, I'm going to show you just like this. I want you to pay attention. Going back to the Compact Bible Dictionary. Bottom definition. Hellenists, Jews who made Greek their tongue. They spoke Greek. And with it often adopted Greek ideals and practices, meant worshiping other gods. Like we've been reading, these Jews, they were Hellenists. They were Greeks worshiping the God. That's why when we go to Acts, the Bible already tells you. Acts 14. I just want to show you this real quick. Look at what's going on. Acts 14:1. And when the people saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in the speech of Laconia, the gods are come down to us in the likeness of men. Look at watch. And they call Barnabas Jupiter. These are Greek gods now. They call Barnabas Jupiter and Paul Mercurius because he was the chief speaker. Do you understand? These Greeks, these Judean Greeks are caught up in the Grecian customs. This is what it's talking about. And the priest of Jupiter which was before their city, brought oxen and garlands unto the gates, and they would have done sacrifice with the people. Here they go. They finna sacrifice to these false gods. Which, when Paul and when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothes and ran in among the people crying out. That's why it says, which when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, when they heard they were about to sacrifice to these false gods, they rent their clothes, they tore their clothes, and ran in among the people crying out, saying, Sirs, why do ye these things? Why are you sacrificing to these false gods? We also are men of like passions with you. We preach unto you that you should turn from these vanities. Who was taught to turn from the vanity? Who are the vanities? The vanities was Jupiter and Mercurius, the false gods of. We were telling you, these people, they had false gods. Type in Hercules, type in Jupiter, type in Mercurius, and they're all going to be white. Because that's their gods. That was their gods. And we had brothers caught up in that. Vanities unto the living God, which made heaven and earth and the sea and all the things that are therein. They weren't going to everybody doing this. They were going to their brethren that was caught up in the Grecian practice. We know this. So, hit the mic. Going back, we can understand. John 7:35. Then said the Jews, among themselves, whether will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? The dispersed among the Gentiles. Well, let's go back. Notice the word dispersed. Now we read out of Ezekiel 36:19 that God had dispersed Israel among the people. Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenists. Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished. Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race, but the word may be used to indicate non-Jews, foreigners, and aliens. Here is the foreigner. Here is the alien. Here is the stranger from the covenant, along with our people that followed them. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folk of the dispersion, dispersed among the Gentiles, and teach the Gentiles. Notice the word dispersion. Notice it, dispersion. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? The dispersed was the Gentiles. They know this. They know this. That's why, again, when Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 12, you Christians all day long, we're gonna cut you off at every avenue. We're just waiting. We're gonna cut these so-called pork chop eating pastors off, man, because I just can't stand when you want to fool the people, just lie to the people. But you can do what you do in your life, but God's word, don't blaspheme his word. But they do it. They have no problem. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, his brethren, according to the flesh, according to them being his kindred, were Israelites. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles. The brethren were Gentiles. The brethren were Gentiles. The brethren were Gentiles. You're going to see this again, Acts 15. Acts 15, verse 23. We're going to show you, brothers and sisters. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and their elders and brethren send greetings. Watch. Key your mind in on this. Key it in. Key it in. The apostles and elders and the brethren send greetings unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles. Because the brethren, when it says brethren which are of, it's showing you that those brethren were the Gentiles, like he just wrote in the book of 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2. The brethren were of them. When you want to try to change Gentiles into non-Jew, non-Israelite by commentary, it's not going to work. The brethren which are of the uncircumcision, because they knew that their brethren scattered were not circumcised. They were the uncircumcision. When you see uncircumcision, you see Gentiles. When you see Gentiles, you see uncircumcision. This is the secret. This is what they try to hide. This is what they're building up against. Because common sense will tell you that if Gentiles and uncircumcision was the same like it is and how we have proven with 6 verses, 6 different verses in different places of the book, Acts 11, 1 through 3, Romans 20, not Romans 20, but Romans 2, 24 through 26, Romans 3, 29 and 30, Galatians 2, 7 and 8, Ephesians 2, 11, Colossians 3, 11. All of them say that the uncircumcision was the Gentiles. And Colossians 3:11 even said Greek was the uncircumcision. It was the same. But if you see Gentiles in the way they want you to see, non-Israelite, non-Jew, instead of uncircumcision, that's how you're going to be messed up. That's why they continue to put this doctrine out there. Israelites were never called Gentiles. Israelites were never was. No, it's not. You got to look at the Greek word, this word, that word. No, look at the Bible and see what it says. It says that Gentiles and uncircumcision is the same. It's the same. The Christian church is blocking that from you in a lie. It's the same, but at the same time again, if you go back and look at Acts 15 and 1, and certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Now we know that the brethren, which are the Jews, his people, they were uncircumcised too. When you put 2 and 2 together, what you gonna think? That Paul went after his uncircumcised brethren. They were the uncircumcision Paul went after, and not everyone. Not everyone. See, the Bible defines circumcision and uncircumcision the same. 6 times. Again, Acts 11, 1 through 3. Romans 2, 24, 26. Romans 3, 29 and 30. Galatians 2, verse 7 and 8. Ephesians 2, verse 11. And Colossians 3, 11. That's six places in the New Testament where these two were the same, uncircumcised and Gentile. They know what they're writing in this book, and we showed you 6 different places. Uncircumcision and Gentiles was the same. But the Christians don't want you to know that, because you will know that the Israelites were also uncircumcised among the nations. And what is the uncircumcision? Gentiles. Too many ways to understand, too many ways to see that the Israelites were referred to as Gentiles. We're not going to pay attention to these TikTok live. Oh, well, when you get to listing off too many scriptures, I'm going to kick you off. No, I've been kicked off lives because when you come with the firepower, they got to regulate their space. There's no, see what they can't, they're not going to go on a neutral ground. They're not going to get into a debate where we can read the verse, break down the verse. They want to be in total control so they can kick you off. That's why all that stuff is crap. When I see those TikTok lives, I laugh and I just keep going. Scroll. They ain't worth looking at. They ain't worth paying attention to. But many people get caught up in their crap. They were with TikTok as agents ever since they opened up. Finally made it to 1,000 views and 1,000 followers, and want to go live. Okay. I made it up to about 900, maybe 902, 903, and I just hadn't even been on TikTok. I don't consider TikTok a serious platform for the Bible. I just don't, because they don't have, if you, it's more like of a skit show, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, maybe 10 the longest, and then they do them lives. Nah, you got to have some kind of place where you can get an hour or two in, or we can bust these pastors out. It's not designed for that. That's why I don't take them serious. YouTube, Facebook, yada, yada. Our people, brothers and sisters, the scattered children of Israel, were uncircumcised, and the uncircumcision is the same as Gentiles. If we let somebody else guide us and say, oh, well, no. Show me a verse that says none Jew. Show me a verse that says none Israel. Show me a verse that says none Jew, none Israelite, none Israelite, none Jew. If you can't, I showed you uncircumcision meant the same. As Gentiles in 6 different places. Now, what they would have to show you is that none Jew or none Israel, it's not going to see it, because that's not what Gentiles are. Gentiles mean uncircumcision. That's it. In other words, brothers and sisters, all nations are not going to be saved. That's the ticket. That's the ticket. That's why they do what they do. They steady try to put all nations in salvation. No, it's not. You can't do that. When you go back, if you can't see it here, brothers and sisters, Acts 15:23, and they wrote letters by them after this manner, the apostles and elders and all the brethren now, send greetings to or unto the brethren. Stop. So you got brethren sending greetings to other brethren. You see what's going on? Brethren to brethren. But let's look at this. Then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch. Antioch was a province of Greece, with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas surnamed Barsabas. Barsabas. I think it's Barsabas. Barsabas and Silas, chief men among the brethren again. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren send greetings unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles. So the brethren, when it says it pleased the apostles to go down to Antioch, that means they traveled down to Antioch, a Grecian province, And their brethren from Judea sent greetings to their brethren down in Antioch, which were of the Gentiles. It didn't say among the Gentiles this time. It says they were of them because they were Gentiles. Uncircumcision. It says of the Gentiles. That means they were of them. They were them. And Antioch and Syria and Cilicia, where Paul was born. Paul was born in Cilicia. Brothers and sisters, when Acts 15 is a heavy chapter. They read their parts out of Acts 15, but it's heavy. We could just go over it and over it. But it's meant to be. That's why it's called the foolishness of preaching, because you got their teaching and our teaching, and it comes together as a battle. And it shouldn't be like that, but it is. God used the foolishness of preaching to those that believe, because you believe this book, and the way we have to do it, hey, it's the way. The uncircumcised Israelites, brothers and sisters, were heathen, Gentiles. That's what they were. This is not talking about Paul going to anybody, any place, anywhere. No. They were bringing their scattered brethren who had become as heathen, worshiping their gods, back to their religion. But Paul then was doing it a different way. Not by the temple and circumcision, but the heart. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises to the Most High. We'll see you later on. Tomorrow, I don't know a sufficient time. But just wanted to go over this. Israelites were referred to as Gentiles. It's what you read and how you read. And these guys on TikTok Live talking about Israelites were never called Gentiles. Yes, they were. They know that if it was true, Paul was going after them and not everybody else. And that's common sense. So they'll lie. That's all they do, brothers and sisters, is lie. They're not keeping the law, so. Once again, brothers and sisters, one love, peace, and blessings be unto you from us here at Little Rock, Arkansas. All praises, and may God be with you. We'll be praying together tonight. Sabbath is coming upon us. Time to get ready for the Lord's Day. All praise to the Most High, brothers and sisters. We'll see you soon.